Isekai sucks. It's a genre of power trips and escapism. The setting is always the same, the magic is always boring, and the main character is always a teenager with no personality, no life, and certainly no sexual history. This is on purpose. After all, that's the target demographic. ReZero is also an isekai, so it carries all the same baggage that comes with the territory, being a medieval fantasy world inhabited by anthropomorphic animals. That said, most of my problems with ReZero have to do with that baggage. Considered in isolation, this anime has some merit, and I'm about to consider the hell out of it. The first part of any isekai is how did I get here? Whether it's via a god or a video game or summoning magic, the method of transportation into paradise usually sets up the hero's goal as well. The why am I here? Which, as an aside, is never find a way home. It'd be too realistic for the archetypal gamer protagonist to miss air conditioning or the internet, or God forbid his family. ReZero's protagonist blinks and now he's there. No exposition. Not bad. Normally, we'd be bombarded with context about how he's the chosen hero and must fight against blah blah blah. As far as we can tell after 20 minutes though, ReZero's hero has no superpowers. And being an archetypal gamer, he also has no transferable skills, cultural awareness, or money. Therefore, Subaru Natsuki's goal for now is simple. His sole objective is to survive. These types of shows keep audience retention early on despite such exposition dumps with help from the gimmick. Every isekai has one, to distinguish itself from other isekai. ReZero 2 has a gimmick, but refrains from revealing it too soon. Subaru doesn't mind the lack of explanation. He's clearly familiar with this story, and has no doubt dreamed of being in such a scenario. Certainly it's an improvement over his previous lot in life. You can tell as much by comparing his demeanor to before he got teleported here. Quickly though, he learns he is not some chosen hero. After stumbling about and being pushed around, he gets mugged for his cup ramen. This scene is a good first demonstration of Subaru's character. We learn that he's underhanded, quick to improvise, and doesn't shy away from a fight despite his lack of power. Once a knife is pulled, however, he begs for his life, like a little bitch. Already, Subaru has shown more personality than other isekai protagonists, and this is only the beginning of the show. He's saved by a beautiful young lady that's also nice to him. We see this all the time, she's nothing special, but to Subaru, she is an angel. So far, everyone's treated him like crap, and then along pops up eye candy. It's completely believable that a 17-year-old latches onto the first person in this world showing him basic kindness, who also happens to be a pretty girl his age. There is a ton of cute banter and conversation between these two, a level of chemistry absent from similar pairings in other shows. The girl, Emilia, is looking for a MacGuffin that got stolen by some street urchin. So Subaru offers his help to ingratiate himself with her because what else is he gonna do? So begins the misadventures of Subaru Natsuki and his girl toy Emilia. Lots of people die. And then they come back. And die again. This is ReZero's gimmick. When Subaru is killed, time is rewound and he gets a do-over, keeping all of his memories. Throughout the show, his return point conveniently moves up to about the start of whatever arc they're on at the time, which is totally fine. If he were sent back to episode 1 each time he died, we'd repeat entire plot lines. This time loop ability, exclusive to Subaru, he dubs Return by Death. Return by Death affects ReZero's plot in a few interesting ways. The first is in how it warps the stakes. Normally, dying is rather permanent. Your characters get to be killed off one time, not every time. With Subaru's power, character deaths mean little more than the inconvenience of having to start over, ignoring the mental trauma Subaru endures, but let's not get ahead of ourselves. This means we, the audience, don't need to worry about our favorites getting written out of the show. To offset this, ReZero indulges in abusing its cast. Their deaths aren't permanent, but you still get to watch their agonizing final moments, over and over again. The second is in Subaru's relations with other characters. Because his social progress with certain people is undone when he dies, he has to regain that progress, usually in a slightly different context. This allows Subaru and the audience to see multiple sides of the same people, whereas these people only ever see one side of him, specifically the side with a prophetic sense of danger whom always has a perfect solution for whatever problem they're facing. On that note, Return by Death would start and end as a gimmick if not for being uniquely tailored for its user. Subaru isn't particularly strong or skilled in combat like, say, Reinhard, the guy who'd be the protagonist in any other isekai, whipping out his penis to solve his problems. No. Subaru's strength lies in his intelligence. He's constantly utilizing information from previous lives to arrange better outcomes for himself. He's at his best not when fighting personally, but when planning how these scenarios play out beforehand. The gift of perfect foresight allows him to manipulate the moving parts around him. This is best demonstrated with the subjugation of the white whale, a monster that's terrorized the land for several hundred years. Subaru knows when and where it'll show up next because it nearly killed him in a previous life, so he convinces several factions to help take it down, leveraging their interest in doing so anyway, which he only learned throughout several repetitions of Return by Death. The best part is that the white whale isn't even his main objective here. That was just to garner favor so he could take some of the leftover troops back with him afterwards to fight some cultists. He's crafty like that. His intelligence shows itself even without using Return by Death. After helping Emilia in the first arc, Subaru is offered a reward by Roswaal, her guardian. A lot of good that does her. Instead of asking for power or money, Subaru asks for a job at this mansion. Actually genius. When he first came to this world, Subaru was homeless, broke, and soon to be starving. The job comes with lodging, pay, and, they probably feed him. He's also taught how to read and write because he needs to in order to get groceries for the mansion. This decision single-handedly takes care of all of Subaru's immediate needs. More importantly, it gives him a reason to be close to Emilia, whom by now he has a massive crush on. The other denizens of Roswaal's mansion have their roles to play in the story too. Most notably this girl, Rem, one of the twin maids. She's central in the second arc, being the main powerhouse that will either help Subaru or end him depending on his actions, tending towards the latter because he smells funny or something. She and her sister Rom are demons with a generic tragic backstory. I won't do you the disservice of repeating what I've said in probably a dozen other videos of mine. I don't like these. All that matters is that Rom is hornless while Rem is horny, which is why she's so strong. Now there is one aspect of Rem's character that I don't like. At the beginning of this arc, Rem is deliberating on ending Subaru's life, and does so a couple times. By the end of the arc, that is, a few days later, deliberations are over and she now wants to continue his bloodline. The gap is too drastic too quickly, and plot reasons don't excuse this for me. None of this to say I dislike Rem, it's just that she flips on a dime and it's like, Subaru is charismatic, but no one's that good. All you need to do is either make this change less pronounced or make it happen slower. That's it. She's fine otherwise. It is important that Rem becomes Subaru's foremost fangirl, since it's her who helps him get his groove back when he's at his lowest point later on. The scene lasts like 16 minutes, which I find a bit long, but it is the scene of ReZero, complete with title drop. If you were curious why everyone wants to ram Rem but not Rom, this is it. That lowest point, by the way, is in the third arc. Without delving too far into the details, Emilia is one of 5 candidates to become queen, and this is a meeting about that. Subaru attends against Emilia's wishes and embarrasses both of them with an impotent outburst at the white-haired half-elf racism on display from, well, the entire country. Long story short, he gets his ass beat, and Emilia cuts him off. This may come as a shock, but I'm about to defend Subaru's actions here. From a writing perspective, that is. In-universe, this is a teenager acting like a hotshot seemingly without reason. Obviously, he's screwed up, but this wasn't out of character at all. By this point in the show, Subaru has overcome 2 major ordeals and struggled more than anyone around him can imagine. It's not a stretch to say the survival of those closest to him depends on his success. In fact, it's completely accurate. Whenever Subaru fails, people wind up dead. It is entirely believable that his ego would be inflated from the constant tribulation he's subjected to. This scene exists to humble our protagonist, and to reinforce that lesson, it's the only mishap Subaru never gets to go back and undo. It's on his track record irreversibly, but that doesn't stop him from becoming the hero that defeats the white whale. Everyone's done something they're ashamed of, but that doesn't have to be what defines you. What he does get to undo is the excessive humbling that ensues right after, as he gets dunked on individually by the other queen candidates. While these scenes do provide Subaru with information he needs to succeed later on, I don't think it was necessary to bully him even harder. It's salt on the wound of wading through corpses of familiar faces only to die again. It's amazing how often one person can empty their tear ducts without drying them out. Return by Death may be an insane ability that grants Subaru semi-immortality, but it does have meaningful drawbacks. The first is right here. Retaining memories of your and everyone else's deaths is extremely traumatic. No one could possibly keep it together as they speak with someone who, moments ago, was a decaying husk no longer housing life. That is harrowing. The second drawback, though, is downright sinister. Subaru cannot tell anyone about his power. Anytime he tries, he gets a mini heart attack. This forces him to work around the doubts people will have of his predictions. He's also unable to confide in others, making his burden weigh on him that much more. This is the most significant detail of Return by Death. Even in this world of fantasy, Subaru cannot escape isolation. To put it lightly, he has a rough time in this anime, made worse by the loneliness he suffers thanks to its gimmick. But even though he occasionally takes it like a champ, Return by Death doesn't diminish the gravity of Subaru's demise for those around him. Since they react like his death is permanent, these scenes are as heavy as if Return by Death didn't exist at all. It hurts to see Subaru suffer. It hurts worse to watch those close to him see him suffer. The final antagonist Subaru faces in ReZero is Betelgeuse, the leader of the local chapter of the Witches Cult and the Sin Archbishop of Sloth. At first glance, he's just comically unhinged, and granted he is, but if you listen to what he says, he is also scarily lucid, and no idiot. In his first scene, he has captured Subaru because he smells funny, and Betelgeuse is jealous. Prior to this, Subaru had seemingly lost his mind and become unresponsive. Such disarray it's in from sheer trauma. Unbeknownst to us, he is faking. I assume because he's mentally checked out and doesn't want to do anything for a bit. You could say he's feeling a little slothful. Betelgeuse, as a properly insane man, picks up on this. He interrogates Subaru as to his reasons for pretending, and when Subaru doubles down on the act, Betelgeuse has his boys fetch up Rem so he can twist his arm. It's fitting that a guy like this is the last obstacle Subaru must overcome in the show. In this arc, his struggle becomes so great he's ready to throw in the towel and run away with Rem. This is a feeling anyone can relate to. Your troubles seem so impossibly insurmountable that you want nothing more than to abandon everything and start over. Such is the theme of the third arc and second half of this anime. A critique of inaction, personified in Betelgeuse. Subaru bounces back by writing his name in the history books, but you don't need to go that far if you feel similar. You also don't need a pep talk from a cute girl, although I imagine that helps. All you need to do is remember the light at the end of the tunnel. The emotional turmoil endured by Subaru and the lengths he strides to protect those around him is what makes ReZero compelling. The gimmick, Return by Death, is interesting and well implemented. It doesn't serve to make Subaru a powerhouse, but rather accentuates his pre-existing qualities, like his intelligence and resourcefulness. Almost all isekai are predicated on the idea of starting from zero. The protagonist arrives in a fantasy world with nothing but a name and a game plan to garner influence, allies, and power. That is, more power. Almost all isekai fail to explore this idea beyond the superficial. ReZero, though, delves further. Its very first scene says all you need to know about Subaru's life without a single flashback. He's a drifter, lamenting what he doesn't have while not lifting a finger to get it. In this way, in a genre of self-assured protagonists who never once doubt themselves, Subaru is singularly inspiring. His story is not one of defeating monsters and attaining glory, but of self-acceptance and finding one's purpose. On top of those things, this has meaning. It's a tangible lesson you can extract from ReZero, the soul of this anime. Finding himself in paradise, Subaru is no more lost than he was in our world, and while his immediate environment demands his action in order to survive, by the end of the show he decides on a reason to live, a reason to make something of himself. For Subaru, there is no fruit sweeter, no cause more worthy of dying for, than the joy of seeing his object of affection smile. This is the light at the end of his tunnel. This is his answer to, why am I here?
Why, Subaru?
'Cause I love you, Emilia.